Hey guys, hope you're well. Have a court update, but sadly not a court report, as I could not get the money together to fly to LA, so I do deeply apologize, although I got a full rundown from Henry. And if you want to also get a more immediate rundown, go to Albanian Newsnet Network for Henry's page, which has a good synopsis. But I'm just essentially using what he said, and then also condensing it fairly tightly and giving my analysis. So the big news of the day today is that Zero Dark Tony, ZDT, had his criminal hearing, of which he did not appear, even though he was ordered to appear. And as a result, a warrant was issued for his arrest. So that's the big news. And there is no subsequent court date because he has to legally be arrested and remanded. He should be turning himself in, but knowing ZDT, that might be wishful thinking that might happen. So oddly enough, the entire trial, the entire case is at a standstill with no future planned dates. So what happened? Spindell showed up in person to represent ZDT. He was, surprise, surprise, an hour late. It began at 8:30. Spindell showed up at 9:30. In the very beginning, Spindell felt scared and terrorized because of the presence of the very menacing and hulking Henry Marini. And he did try to claim to the judge that Henry Marini had made threats against him, had made threats to commit physical harm, that Spindell himself, even though ZDT wasn't there, that Spindell himself didn't feel safe because of Henry's presence. And he said that Henry, remember, we've heard this argument at least now 4 times before in different cases, that Henry is part of this consistent, persistent gang stalking effort, that he's part of a myriad of a number of people trying to harass and terrorize and physically threaten and make ZDT feel unsafe. So Spindell tried to get Henry booted out of the courtroom. The judge denied that request. And this is where people's futures get pretty slippery and unknowable, because you do wonder, Spindell did try to claim that Henry threatened physical harm. You do wonder if somebody could get disbarred from that, from claiming physical harm threats on somebody that has not even alluded to such a thing. Now, you might be able to get some other people where you could try to make a connection, but certainly not with Henry. So to try to intimidate a witness, or to try to intimidate, of which Henry was a member of the press, that's a big no-no and interferes, and it really qualifies you as somebody of being in contempt of court. You're in contempt of court if you make up false claims to try to get people booted from being allowed to attend the hearing that they're legally allowed to attend. So there was back and forth with that. Then there was a long private conversation with the judge. Henry couldn't hear that. I wouldn't have been able to hear it if I showed up, so we missed what happened in that. But it didn't look like the judge was sympathetic in any single way, shape, or form. You could assume the conversation was, these are the hardships my client has gone through. Can you please not revoke his bail? Because today, on the 29th, was, in addition to a regularly scheduled hearing that was already on the docket, it was also a hearing to reconsider the bail, to see if ZDT violated the bail, if he should be remanded. Perhaps if ZDT showed up, he would get a warning. A judge immediately expressed consternation that even though he was ordered to physically be there in person, ZDT only appeared via... No, I don't think ZDT made any sort of appearance, because the big claim that Spindell tried to make is that ZDT is incapacitated because he had to go to the emergency room for a big health problem, and that otherwise he would have been there. And then the judge asks Spindell, well, do you have a doctor's note explaining his dire circumstance? Spindell said no, and then the judge says, can you find some family members to vouch for him, and can we call them? And Spindell awkwardly, kind of in a hollow manner, looked through his notes, shuffled through his notes for about 2 minutes, and said he did not know of anybody. Therefore, the judge did not buy it, and he increased ZDT's new bail to now $500,000, so it's a different amount than last time. And he was ordered to appear in court. Now, technically, since he's ordered to appear in court, the judge stopped their proceedings because the next step is remanding ZDT, probably keeping in jail until he could pay his newer, much higher bail. And the 10% that ZDT put down last time, the judge made sure to remark that 10% was forfeited, regrettably. Well, regrettably for ZDT, that was forfeited. So that all of that was kind of big news, obviously, but ZDT himself did not get arrested because he was not there in person. This adds insult to injury. ZDT tried to get a restraining order against Crackhead Kenny yesterday. Apparently, that was a very quick process, and the judge dismissed it outright. The judge didn't even allow for a hearing or anything or for evidence to be presented. So clearly, all these judges across Southern California, across the LA and LA metro area, are really starting to become keenly aware of the way that ZDT wastes the court's time, ties them up, and is just consistently guilty of contempt of court. So this was yesterday with Crackhead Kenny. That was another prime example. People are wondering about Nora. That's been delayed until this second. So I don't think there was any. I might be wrong about this, but I don't think there's any new development with Nora. If there wasn't anything too major. So Crackhead Kenny, from what I heard, did a good job explaining that this is mutually assured destruction, that the vitriol on GDT's part was a lot strong. Well, the couple sentences he tried to do before the judge just automatically dismissed it. So good on Crackhead Kenny, another guy to defeat Zero Dark Tony. The list is growing of people who have defeated him. The only one who hasn't is DOA. So... and a lot of you can come to your own conclusions as to why that might be. Might be crazy versus crazy. So that was certainly interesting news. And one of the stipulations that he had to face for the 29th is he could no longer post at all on YouTube. As originally, remember, all of this criminal case is him violating the restraining order. Him creating the violation turns the restraining order into a criminal case. Those initial stipulations were not talking about Solomon. It wasn't as bad. There was a desire to want to shut down all of ZDT's social media. That hadn't happened. But a new stipulation in the bail was added after he already talked about Solomon, also saying that he could not use any social media, period. Now, I guess he could email and stuff, but he could not use any social media. And that was added in the beginning of this month due to already violating it specifically with Solomon. So they made it even more strict. And since then, ZDT has not only mentioned Solomon, but has also, of course, used social media. The interesting thing is I don't think that I'm recording this on Thursday afternoon. I don't think he's been live for about at least 24 hours. So obviously he knows that it would be dumb to go live. You could electronically track them. And my theory is on this situation is that the LAPD is going to be a little more aggressive in trying to get ZDT. Before I was telling you about how this is somewhat minor. There's not going to be extra manpower. They found ZDT when he showed up in court. But since this is now the subsequent time and since he's violated his bail, don't be surprised if LAPD actively goes looking for him. Because right at this moment, it is guaranteed. Let's look at the time. It's always 3 hours in advance, right? It's 4:55. So court 4:55 in the East Coast, 5 p.m. in the East Coast. So it's 2 p.m. on the West Coast right now. Court is there for 2 hours. ZDT could turn himself in within the 2 hours that court is open, and that then he's fine. If not, then ZDT is officially considered a fugitive under the law. And they will go after somebody whom they consider a fugitive. So all of this is a long way of saying all the detractors of ZDT, they've already won. Whether the guy gets found guilty or whether he gets put in jail for longer or whether he has some life in Mexico, he's not posting online anymore, and I don't think he will. So harassing all those people. So a lot of credit to the hero like Cody and to Nora and to Vanessa LaRose and to Solomon and to Henry and to Clee and to a lot of just so many and to Mindy as well. You guys collectively, what you've done is you've painted an accurate picture for the court. And the accurate picture that you painted out is that it's a frivolous guy painting himself as his victim who wants to attack people. Not only wants to attack people emotionally, but he wants to attack them in the outside world. He wants to retract their employment. He wants to retract the custody of their children, whatever it might be. Again, it's all those outside actions have really gotten him in this deep doo-doo in a way that, he might have been able to be found not guilty with a good lawyer. And then the big news, sorry guys, I'm just talking about this at the end. Spindell quit on the spot. At the end of all this, Spindell asked that he would like to be recused from the case, and the judge granted him that recusal. So now, for this criminal, in addition to being likely a fugitive, now in this criminal hearing, in this trial, ZDT does not have an attorney. Maybe he'll get Tamer, who's been known to be spectacular in the past. I don't know, but he is looking attorneyless. So all the detractors ZDT has won, and the fact that as of this moment, I don't think he'll harass anybody at all anymore. And so that's a mass victory that people should be proud of. Of course, it's essential that he's brought to justice, and if there is an actual case, I will certainly be there for that, because this was somewhat worth missing, because the dialogue lasted all of 2 minutes. That was it. So it would be a lot to fly out for 2 minutes of dialogue when you get it from Henry. But if there's an actual, trial that takes 4 hours and there's a lot of dialogue, that I will fly into. But apologies if you felt like I missed a lot in between. And certainly him having a warrant out for his arrest is certainly huge news. And obviously this is indicative that he's not going to be found not guilty, I don't think. The LA attorneys, the district attorneys, are taking this very seriously, with a certain amount of urgency that I didn't see necessarily in the past. So all the letters to the district attorney's office, city attorney's office, all of those, all the evidence gathering, all of it was quite meaningful, and it turned up in this result. Because remember, the original thing was just don't post about Solomon. Now it's just don't use any social media, or it was as of last month, and ZDT violated it. So very, very big news. There is no subsequent court date because he has to be remanded. And I always suggested to him he should walk across the border to Mexico where they don't check passports and just live there and not be online. And it's a minor enough charge where they wouldn't probably, the Mexican authorities, if you were picked up and checked for whatever reason, I don't think they would extradite him for something like this. That would be my theory. So if I were ZDT, I would go down to Mexico. Just live life in Tijuana. It's a great city. It's just kind of like the U.S. in a lot of ways. You get your minor league baseballs and your Home Depots and your movie theaters and your Ubers and everything else that you could want in the U.S. You pretty much have in Mexico. So maybe you'll be all right if anybody. I know he has some fans here, and they might be worried about him. And you can live a good quality of life in Mexico off the internet, perhaps. Maybe he'll find the true meaning of life once he kind of unplugs for a minute and gets out of his own self-imposed psychosis. So that's the rub. I'm going to try to head tonight for a Curtis Lewa event. So if you guys are enjoying the mayoral coverage, please continue watching. I know it's two very different audiences, but I've seen nice growth in terms of the Scientology stuff, as well in terms of the mayoral election coverage. So that's been nice to see some of that progress. And in the immediate future, you'll see it'll be Election Palooza with you and me if you're following this stream. All day, I'll be probably out with Curtis Lewa in the campaign on Election Day. Saturday, there's an Obama rally for Mikey Sherrill, New Jersey governor in Newark, so I'll be there for that. And then Monday will be more New York City mayoral events. So you'll see me very busy, and then kind of chill out between then. Maybe I could catch my breath and see if I could have some time to fly to LA. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and thanks for paying attention, and thanks for submitting what you could submit to get ZDT in his current situation. It takes a village to bring justice, so credit to the village. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.